Okay, so here's a photo shoot I did with the whole of the paramedics. Kind of just an irony of Grim Reaper versus paramedics. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this image throughout the process of these videos to show you the changes and to show you the styles that we use and everything. What we're going to start with is Lightroom. Now Lightroom is essentially the same as Camera Raw. I just personally feel that Lightroom is a lot more user friendly and has a much better user interface than Camera Raw, but essentially they do exactly the same thing. So what we're going to start with is showing you the settings that I use before I bring the photo over into Photoshop. And what I do is I actually save these settings as a preset, so that when I import photos off my SD card or off my camera, I import them with these settings so that it's already laid out. So let's quickly go through these settings. Firstly, I do not touch temperature or tint, and I've saved this picture as a JPEG so it won't have camera settings in there. I leave exposure. Contrast, I've dropped to -25. Highlights, I drop to -50. Shadows, I push up to 50. And then blacks, I'll bring down to -25. And you'll notice with increasing the shadows you get this almost HDR effect to the photo. With clarity, I push it up to 15, and vibrance, I push up to 25, just to bring in those almost lost or dull color tones, as mid-range color tones. From there, what I do is go down to details. Details, I usually set my sharpening amount at between 70 to 100. So for this image, I'm going to use 70. Radius, I'm going to use 0.7. Then we go to luminance, which I set at a standard 25. Color at 25 as well. And you'll notice that the luminance detail and the color detail stay at 50. What I'll do then is enable my profile correction and set it to auto. That way Lightroom takes the model of camera and the lens and adjusts the distortion of it and corrects it. And there we go, those are my basic settings for Lightroom. For all my pictures that come in, I set it as those settings. Now you want to save this, so you go to presets on the left hand side here, you click create new preset, and you select all the changes that you've made. So we're going to select contrast, highlight, shadows, black clipping, clarity, sharpening, color, noise reduction, and lens correction. And we're going to select all of those. We're not going to select exposure or white balance or white clipping, and I'll show you why now. You label your preset and you press create, and it'll create it as a preset so that you've got it at a click of a button. So now let's reset that. That's the image we're looking at. What is a nice little trick is just click auto. Let the computer tell you what it thinks it should be looking like. Then you go over to your preset that you've saved, you've just saved, created and saved, and you click on your preset. And now what happens is it adjusts all the contrast, highlights, shadows, blacks, clarity and everything like that without actually affecting the exposure. Now for me this exposure is still a bit too bright. I'm going to just bring it down just a tad, and there we go. From there you may want to crop your image. It's a good idea to get your composition just perfect, and you can use your cropping tool. Now you'll see I've got a funny squiggly line there, which is actually called your golden rule focus point or your Pascali rule. But if you click O on your keyboard, you'll get your grid lines. There's your rule of thirds, there's an adjusted rule of thirds, there is the diagonal rule of thirds, and there's Pascali's focus point or golden rule. And what I'll do is I'll put a link on this that you can actually read the article and see what it's all about and learn about it. This does dramatically alter your photography, and if you can take a photo keeping this curve in mind, and if you press Shift O, you can change to either one of the 4 points, whether it be landscape or portrait as well. So my focus point is on the patient just here, so I'm happy with that exactly, and you click done. Final step to get it to Photoshop is right click your image, go edit, go down to open as smart object in Photoshop. Very important to do this. If you don't, you're actually editing your photo in a destructive manner and you're going to lose a lot of your image. But opening as a smart object actually keeps the original image that you have, and you are editing over and above that and adding layers on to that, and it's a non-destructive editing tool. Very important to try and keep it as non-destructive as possible. So you're going to click open a smart object and bring it straight through to Photoshop, and there we go. We're ready to start photoshopping and retouching this image.